Hi, I'm Seamless, and today I'm going to show you how to make this bass. And then a little bit later I'll tell you how to make this bass. And also, it's really dark in here because for some reason 60% of my lights decided not to work today. I'll have to get new bulbs. But for the time being, I can just be a little sinister. Anyway, yeah, so today's Friday, which means it's time for a new How to Bass. And as I said, we'll be looking at these basses, and as the title probably betrays, and also what we're looking at in the sequencer here, we can see that it has to do with layers. Now, for lots of people, this is probably going to be kind of an obvious thing, but for me, this is new because I typically don't do bass layering. I don't even really do any other kind of layering. Like, I've only recently started to really care about layering. And this is not because I think layering is bad. This is just because my own sensibilities like very concise and single sounds. I just like it when I can make one sound do the job that I want it to do and the whole thing, right? So layering or not. But today I had an interesting idea in relation to a couple types of sounds I tend to make in Harmor. And this has to do a little bit with what we talked about in How to Bass 51, I think, which was tempo synced phaser basses like this. And also something that I talked about a long time, basically normal Reese sounds. And it's the fact that you can make the sound, and then it has like this rhythmic. It has this rhythmic relationship, and with the phaser basses, it's set with the phaser, and with the Reeses, it's set with the unison type that creates the pitch difference, which makes the phase wobble. Now, along with this, and more especially with the phaser bass types, very very small changes in the unison setup and the prism setup, and how all that's related to each other. And also like the harmonic unison pitch setup and all that. Very small changes in this create drastic differences in the overall sound. And you might listen to that and you might think, well, I like all of them. They all sound good. And to a certain extent, you can automate between them. You can automate the pitch value. You can automate the phase even, but that will do weird things to the phaser because that's what the harmonic setting keys into. And also, in terms of the actual sound itself, the phase won't change while the sound is playing and only change when the sound is restart. So there's limited amounts of power you can get from that, but it's still kind of cool. However, I decided what would be cooler than to just have one of the setups like this one and then make those small changes in new instances and just pile them all together. And so that's what that original test was. And then I tried it out with some of my older normal Reese kinds of sounds. And now I got that. And that's a very rich and full sound. And honestly, it's not something that I do a lot. It's not a kind of sound that I get, without lots of very interesting work in single sounds. But for lots of purposes, this can be a very powerful thing. So let's talk about how I deal with this in FL. So basically, you use your layer channel, which you open it up, and then you get this window. You go to channels, add one layer. It's a channel type because these are called channels. These things are referred to as channels in FL. So we open it up, layer, and then you have a set children and show children. If I hit show children, it'll show what I had selected when I hit the set children button. Because then you select these, and you hit set children, and then it sets them as the children. And then, whenever you go to show children, it'll show it. And the default setting of the layer is that when you hit a note in the layer channel, it'll play everything in the layer. There are other options in the layer, like you can do random, which can be kind of cool for you complextro people. You can crossfade, and then you can set, and then by this knob, it'll fade through each individual layer, which is kind of neat. But I stick with the default variety for this particular experiment. So piling it all together means that lots of frequencies are going to start fighting each other. And so to fix this, I put on a compressor, a multi-band compressor, and you can see some interesting sort of behavior. And as these are basses, most of the conflicting frequencies are going to end up being in the bass, but they're not really conflicting. There's actually just the same frequency. There's differences in the highs and the mid because of what we did with the unison changes, but largely the low end is going to be identical for all three of them, just very loud because it's three of them. So most of the compressing, like saving, is going to end up being done with the bass. But even in the mids and the highs, you can see that they're not even approaching 0 dB because they're not stacked. There's not enough going on up there to qualify it to start compressing it. Well, then when they all pile together in master, you get your usual, it's louder than 0 dB, so then you got to compress it in some way. In this particular instance, I decided to have a little bit of compression plus a little bit of soft saturation. So a little bit of crunch is engaged in there. Something I will recommend when you're doing this sort of layering with Harmor is that you stick with the same distortion type and with similar distortion settings. And this is because the character that the distortion sets, if it's not the same, you'll start to get a wash. It'll start to get kind of washy. And that sort of defeats the purpose, at least the original purpose, in these particular presets of the distortion, in the sense that you want it to be a little bit crunchier. So you're making this washy sound. It's sort of, it's just like, why are you doing that? And of course, if you like that sound, then by all means, stick around. And of course, the purpose of this is to sort of give you the idea that you can work with more rhythmic sounds with these two particular methods, being the normal Reese detune and then the normal phaser kinds of sound. And I mean, this is the results of like maybe a minute of messing around with the idea. So this is just a very basic, very quick example. And I'm sure people who are more used to layering will come up with more better ideas or more interesting things. And of course, I'm going to mess around with it more. And if I come up with anything, overtly amazing, then I will report back to you guys, my viewers, because that's what I do. Yeah. All right. So the way that the Reese ones work is if you go to the harmonic use and pitch, I'm just going to play this one. This window, as we have discussed numerous times in past videos, I won't go over it anyway because who watches all my videos? This window details how much pitch at what harmonic is happening. You can kind of see this weird little like lines happening, and that's where these very sharp values are. And you can see when I'm moving around, like the character kind of gets different. And what we're looking at when we look at this spectral view, the harmonic view, and the visualizer is only one voice. We're only looking at one voice. We're not looking at there's two voices. So we're not looking at the two total voices. So we're looking at, in this one voice, we're seeing the movement of one side, which is detuning, against the other side, which will have similar, striations in the visualization. Now, in the lowest part here is the detune value set by the fundamental frequency. You see how I moved it around. It actually changed in this one voice. Now, that is where the rhythmic feeling comes from in the sound. If we get rid of it, like there's more movement because the tops are different. But the main wob is the result of phase cancellation in the fundamental frequency, because the loudest part of any bass is going to be the fundamental tone. And when you distort everything, the loudest part tends to drown out everything else, kind of like in your usual compression artifact, because as it turns out there's similarities between how distortion and compression works. There's actually a very small difference. But as the low frequency cancels out, as the phase cancels out, I can actually demonstrate what this sounds like. I go to the local EQ. As the lowest harmonic phases out, as you see here, it opens up room for the higher frequencies, which are doing weird things, to become more audible under the distortion. And so that's the typical, that's like your basic Reese setup. And that's what we're keeping in control here. So this basic setup, like with all three of these, I have the same fundamental unison setup. It's the same unison pitch. The fundamental frequency is at the same speed for all of them, so that when it's played together, it's in one rhythm, one single rhythm. This isn't the problem with the phaser ones, because the speed of the rhythmic aspect is controlled directly by the phaser, which means you can make unison changes all day. It doesn't matter what you do, the rhythm will still be the same. So when you're piling on phaser bases, rhythmic phaser bases, you need to not change the phaser aspect, the phaser speed. And if you automate the speed of one, you got to automate the speed of the rest of them, or otherwise it'll become a massive mess. So that's what's up with that. I think I covered everything that's necessary. I might have glossed over some aspects about how to actually create these sounds. Like I covered the phaser ones in How to Base 51, and I must have covered these in older the Reese ones and older how to bases, but I just went over how to the basic Reese build. So hopefully that's enough to illuminate you a path to creating this yourself. But if you have any questions, let me know. Also, I want to remind you that I started a Patreon campaign recently, and I have an information video on what that is. It's kind of recent in my videos list. So if you're interested in that, go on my channel and find a video that has Patreon in the title. And basically, what it is it's like the way that I have it set up is that it's like a voluntary monthly subscription that you can give to me, and that will support me in making videos and doing all kinds of cool stuff. But much like Kickstarter, there's like tiered rewards for subscribing. For example, some of the rewards are you get early access to videos, because I often put these up in unlisted form, before the day comes up, so you can get tutorials before anyone else. Another one has, you get early access to music and crap that I make, in the sense that I will show you my private links on SoundCloud, which has a lot of like whips and experiments and stuff like that. One of them is I'll give you a shout out on a video. One of the lower tiers is that I will listen to one of your tracks and review it for you, kind of thing. I mean, I do that normally, but like I only do it when I really have time. But if you get this reward tier, then I'll make it my mission to listen to your track and review it for you. Those are just some of the options. So you go check out the website, the page. I have it linked in the description. And of course, I love you dearly if you would choose to subscribe. But if you don't, not a big deal. I still love you, because I'm not going to not make anything that I do free, or it is going to stay free. Is what I'm saying. Nothing will actually change. You're just supporting me in the ability to continue to do so. So there's that. Today being Friday means tomorrow Saturday, which means that a new Alpha Basics will come out, but also at 6 p.m. EST is when I will do my usual weekly live stream. And this week will be much like last week's. I'll be live. I'll be talking in the chat, and I'll probably talk about some of the more interesting things I've talked about in videos lately, like the whole 32-bit thing, or what was one of them? Everyone's always wanted me to talk about mixing and mastering, and I've mentioned so many times as to why I'm kind of hesitant to really go there, but I might. We'll see. But yeah, I will see you on Saturday if you choose to be there. And I hope this video was helpful for you, understanding things and doing new and cool things with bass and stuff. If you have any questions, let me know. I will attempt to answer them. And as usual, have a very nice day.